Good evening, this is Miss Grenade, and we are going to continue with writing and graphing equations in the form y equals mx plus b. We're going to add graphs to this lesson. We've been doing tables and equations, and so today we're going to do the graphs with it. The TEK that we're studying, the student is expected to represent linear relationships using verbal descriptions. We've done that. Using tables. We're going to do graphs today, and we have done the equations that simplify to the form y equals mx plus b, and we'll review that in a minute. Our essential question today is, how do you write and graph a linear relationship? Remember, the word linear comes from the word line, and that just means it's going to be a straight line. In lesson 7.1, we learned to use a table and to write an equation in the form y equals mx plus b. Today we're going to add graphs to the lesson to see how tables, graphs, and equations all fit together. Let's do a quick review of the equation. Fill in the blanks. We've got y equals mx plus b. Remember, the y and the x are always going to stay there. And the m represents the rate of change, the rock. You might want to write rate of change under there. I bet you're writing better than I am. And remember, you're going to, we'll talk about where you're going to find that in a minute. Plus, b is the y-intercept. That's where the line runs into the y-axis. And remember, the fun word we're calling that is a spulia, starting point on y-axis. That's what you should have filled in. Remember, to find the rate of change, you look at the pattern in the y-axis of the table. So if you have a table like this is your x, this is your y, we're going to look down this line to find the rate of change. So for example, if this was 2, 5, 8, 11, what would the rate of change be there? What's happening every time? 2 plus 3 is 5. 5 plus 3 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11. So that's our rate of change. To find y-intercept, you find the value of y when x equals 0. So this is what your ordered pair looks like. It's 0, comma, and then any number. So if we draw an XY table, let's draw a couple of them. And let's say we have -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. And we've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. I bet you already know what our rock is. If we look down this y-axis, we're adding 5 each time, so our rock would be plus 5. Now, 0 and any number. The ones we've been doing so far, the 0's always been on the top, but you're not always going to see it there. So you've got to find that 0 and circle that. So that means that 15 would be our y-intercept. Now, we did some like this the other day, I guess it was yesterday, where we had a 1, 2, 3, and so we had 4, 2, 0. Well, what is our rate of change? What's happening each time here? We're subtracting 2. So our rate of change is -2. But we don't have a 0. So remember the other day when we did this, we had to go up here and add a 0. We're going backwards, 3, 2, 1, 0. Well, if we're going backwards here, what is this y going to be? So that when we subtract 2, when we use that rate of change 2, we'll get a 4. So the rate of the spulia, boy, that's not very good writing. The spulia is 6, but we had to go backwards up here to make this 0 happen. And then we had to work backwards here to make this 6 so that we could find the y-intercept. If you're having any questions as we go, jot them down, and your teachers will answer those tomorrow before you do your assignment with this. Okay, let's start with a problem about renting video games. Teresa signed up for a membership to rent video games. The company charges $5 per month and $2 per video game. Graph a linear relationship between the numbers of games. Teresa rents and her, sorry, I read that wrong. Graph a linear relationship between the number of games Teresa rents and her monthly cost. First, make a table and record the different values for the linear. Now, they're just showing you how to do this. We've got to pay the $5 per month, and then we've got to pay $2 per game. So if we don't ever rent a game, let's say we join the first day but we don't rent a game, then our cost is $5. We still have that $5 to add into our total cost. So if we rent one game, 5 plus 2, 2 times 1 is 2, is 7. And now if we rent 2 games, and we're getting this number from right over here in the x-axis of our table. So 5 plus, and we've got to do parentheses first, 2 times 2 is 4, so this is 9. If we rent 3 games, we've got to do that first because it's parentheses. 5 plus 6 is 11. Got to do parentheses first. 5 plus 8 is 13. So now you can look down the y-axis of our table to see what the rate of change is. Each time we are adding 2. 7 plus 2 is 9. 9 plus 2 is 11. 11 plus 2 is 13. So our rate of change is positive 2. What's the y-intercept? The spuia. Remember, we're going to go back up here and find the 0. And the 5 is our y-intercept. And it's positive 5. So now we can write an equation in the form y equals mx plus b. And remember, m is the rock, and b is the spuia, or the y-intercept. So that's going to be y equals 2x plus 5. Let's see if we got that. Oh. Okay, now we're going to use a table to create ordered pairs. We've got the 0, 5. This was the x. Uh-oh, I do this every time. Okay. X and y. Remember, your first one is x, your second one's y. X and y. X and y. So that looks kind of like an X there, doesn't it? Okay, so we're going to go across 0 and up to 5 and put a point. We're going to go across to 1 and up to 7. Now, this is counting by 2.5. 5, 7.5, 10, 12.5, 15. So our 7's going to go just a little bit under that mark. And then 2 and 9, it's going to go just a little under that 10. 3 and 11 is going to go a little over the 10. And 4 and 13, this is, remember, 10, 12.5, so it's going to go just a little bit over there. Now you can connect your points. Mine's probably not going to do a very good job there, but connect your points. And here are your hints. Remember, you always start at the origin and go across and then up, across and then up, across and then up. Now, here's the question. Does this make a straight line? Yes, it does. If I had used a ruler to do that, that would be a straight line. Does it go through the origin? No, it does not. So this is non-proportional. First time I've mentioned that word today. Ooh, and I'm having trouble writing it. Non-proportional. Remember, for it to be proportional, it has to have two things. It has to be a straight line, and it has to go through the origin, 0, 0. Now it's your turn. Fill in the table. Emir started out a game with 500 points. For every hand he won, he gained 100 points. So, before he ever started the game, how many points did he have? Fill that in. And then with 100, he got 100 points every time he won a game. So what would this one be? If he won one game. If he won 2 games, what would he be? So you should have started with 500 here, because it said he started out with 500 points. And then when he won a game, he got 100 more points. So 500 plus 100 is 600. 500 plus 200 is 700. 500 plus 300 is 800. 500 plus 400 is 900. What if I added an 8 down here? Would you have to fill in the 5, 6, 7, 8, or could you just figure that out? 500 plus 800, because he got extra 100 points every time, would be 1,300. Write an equation for the linear relationship. But first, let's look at this. What is the rate of change? Look down the y-axis, and what's happening every time? Well, not to here, but because we skipped some numbers there. But every time we're adding 100. So our rate of change is plus 100. What is the y-intercept? Remember, you're looking for 0 and any number that's next to the 0. And so our y-intercept is 500. Now let's go back up and write the linear equation. Y equals m, what's the rate of change? 100, x plus the y-intercept. B is the y-intercept. And so that's plus 500. List the ordered pairs from the table, then plot the points on the graph. So to list the ordered pairs, these are your ordered pairs. It's easier to see in a vertical table like we have here. So 0, 0 and 500. 1 and 600. 2 and 700. 3 and 800. 4 and 900. So as we start to graph those, remember the points up there. Always start at the origin. So we're going to cross first. We don't go across at all because the x number is 0, and we go up to 500. Put your point. Now the interval that they're using here, even though they're counting by 200s, the interval is 100. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. Okay, so now we're going to go back and do 1 and 600. You finish it up. 2 and 700. 3 and 800. 4 and 900. And I want you to finish that up, and your teacher is going to check that tomorrow and then connect the points. If you don't have a straight line, you have done something wrong. It's not going to be proportional because it's not going to go through the origin, but it is still going to be a straight line. You know what's next. Don't forget to do the Google Doc and hit submit.